welcome to another episode of You Might Want to Sit Down for This Podcast. Coming at you, as always, Kevin Von Helvet. We're at episode number 14, and I want to take a quick minute and acknowledge that this podcast is recorded on the unceded traditional territory of the Coast Salish, Katzie, Kwantlen, Makwi, and Stolo people. Meaning motherfucking white man came and stole this land. So shout out to my indigenous friends, listeners of this show. I think it's important. You know, we had Dakota on here a while ago. The least I could do is acknowledge that, yeah, this podcast recorded on land that was unfairly taken. So, yes, today we have a very special guest, a man named Tim O'Hara, drummer extraordinaire for the Lillingtons, Wyoming's favorite pop punk band, the Lillingtons. And Tim and I, this was an interesting interview, I gotta say that. Like, challenging even at times. Not Tim, he's a rad, sweet dude. But my friend Deal, our mutual friend Deal, who I had met on the Floggy Molly cruise back in November 2019, she connected Tim and I. And I didn't really know. I kind of just thought I was talking to the drummer from the Lillingtons, a band that I love, and we were going to kind of talk about tunes and bullshit about whatever. But yeah, it kind of took a turn. It was interesting that, as you'll hear, he kind of hit a crossroads in his life, just hitting his, going into his 40s and growing up and being like, am I still, can I play in a punk band for the rest of my life? There's bills to be paid, there's responsibilities, and during COVID, just really took a major pivot in his life, some healthy decisions. And I think it's relatable because as we get older, sometimes we have to walk away or roll away, if you're a wheelchair like myself, from sometimes people, sometimes situations, sometimes places, sometimes jobs, whatever it is, to start anew, start afresh, do things that are, better for our mental health and our overall well-being of ourselves and our families. And interesting also that this touches on a pretty, I think, relevant topic or issue that's going on now where people, it sort of feels like we live in society where people everybody has to be like put in their category. And if you kind of go a little bit out of the side of the box of what everyone thinks you are, or who you're supposed to be, or how you're supposed to act, or what you're supposed to do, or who you're supposed to listen to, or who you're supposed to hang out with, or whatever it is, that we could be labeled something that we're not, and we could be shunned or canceled or whatever. He wasn't canceled or anything like that, but it kind of fits in with all that. So I spent a lot of time editing this podcast. It's a bit of a longer one, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope you take a lot away from it. I definitely did, and I'm glad that I got to, me and Tim went into this thing pretty much strangers besides a few messages, but by the end, just rad dude. He's definitely a buddy, and I'm hoping to see him in Las Vegas in September at Punk Rock Bowling, should that still go down. I just want to thank all the listeners, followers, the people sharing. After that last Blag the Ripper interview, I got a lot of new followers and listeners, so that's pretty rad. So please keep doing that. You can always find this podcast on Instagram at Sit Down for This Podcast, or online, www.sitdownforthispodcast, or www.Comedy Here Often, because Comedy Here Often supports this. We work together on this, and the lovely and amazingly talented and patient with me, because I'm getting her this shit later than I normally do, Alexi, will be doing all of the producing of the sound. So if you're listening, that's always Alexi. So what up, Alexi? Always appreciate you. Shout out to Fat Records. Shout out to Toby from Red Scare. Shout out to the fucking Lillingtons. We're going to play some of their songs. And Deal for making this connection. And Tim for being a rad dude. I hope you enjoy this episode. Check it out. We've got episode 14 with Tim O'Hara. We're on another episode of You Might Want to Sit Down for This Podcast. My guest today is Tim O'Hara, drummer extraordinaire for the Lillingtons. And what's the band I've been listening to all fucking day? Your other band. Your email.
Oh, stabbed in the back?
Stabbed in the back. I just stabbed you in the back by forgetting the name of your band. Sorry, dude.
That's all good. That's all good.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I've been. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying. Yeah, stabbed in the back was when we Lori and I lived in. My wife and we lived in New Mexico. Lillingtons was still like on a hiatus, and so kind of wanted to do a new band, and took my one of my best friends, is Dustin Brandon. We both grew up in Wyoming together, went to shows together. I conned him into moving to New Mexico with me because I was tour drumming for a band called the Eyeliners, which they were like on Lookout and records and stuff back in the day. I was tour drumming for them, but wasn't really into that band. I wanted to start something that was like a lot grittier. So Dustin and I started Stabbed in Back, and it was kind of like a rocky band. Like we'd have it for a couple years and then pill out and bring it back and stuff. And then it had a revolving door of members and stuff just because, I tried to keep it like a really, like a very busy band, like stuff, like us constantly moving and doing stuff. And I think, a lot of people get burned out if they're not expecting that or used to, like constantly doing things.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But it was a great band. I miss it and stuff. I definitely grateful for a lot of the stuff that we got to do.
It rips. Who's the singer? The singer, for some reason, I couldn't put my finger on it, but the voice sounded familiar.
Yeah, his name is Adam Hooks, and Adam, we found Adam. We played a show with his other band. He had this band called Adam Hooks and the Hang-Ups, and I don't know you'd have to ask Adam himself. I just never really took Adam as kind of like a punk rocker from the get-go or what and stuff. I think he was more like into he was just like into everything. He was more of a like instead of being very like an elitist, he was like into like instruments or country music and things like that. But he had a great voice, and Albuquerque was just very very limited for singers. We figured he wanted to work with us and we wanted to work with him just because he had a great voice and stuff. But that was another thing. I just don't think like taking him from his band and going into a band that like we were we're all working like minimum wage jobs and quitting these jobs every 4 or 6 months or whatever to go on tour and stuff.
Yeah.
And
the
so
hustle, man. The punk rock hustle, right?
So yeah, and everybody's like barely making ends meet. So I think that wears thin on people. And and he was definitely one of the guys that for sure like wanted to exit. He exited out there at the end just because it was. I think it was a little rough for him to be gone so long and stressful trying to make bills and everything like that. So he was a great dude, singer and everything. But they started him and a couple other guys from Stabbed in Back after it was said and done. They started a new band called Russian Girlfriends, and I don't.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I don't keep up with like any of the band stuff, but I suspect they're doing well. I mean, Adam's got a great voice and seems to win over everybody that hears him. So
he's got a versatile voice. He can sing. He's got a good scream. He's got he's kind of he's a talented dude. But you can see that too. It's one thing I'm sure when you're teenagers in your early 20s and you're like what you're saying, like you work for 6 months or whatever, then you quit and you go on tour and come back. Then as you get a bit older, you probably want a little more stability. But
yeah, it's really hard because I think I was most definitely the oldest one in the band, and we're talking by 5 years or more older,
Yeah.
And so when I was young and Lillingtons first started, we were like workhorses. We toured as much as we could. There was just 3 of us. We didn't have wives. We didn't have girlfriends. We lived in a van, and we got used to like that, gypsy lifestyle, of living in a van, sleeping in parking lots, whatever. And going into Stabbed and Back, I kind of like wanted to do the same thing, just really, really be hustling all the time, grinding it out. And, you know, when you got younger guys that are still like, you know, like I don't want to say in their party phase, but people that are still like really want to like, you know, for them, you know, like for me, it was like building a brand versus like going out and having a party every night and stuff like that,
Yeah,
you know. So
makes sense.
yeah, I think it was a little bit harder for most, you know, guys, like because, you know, maybe our goals or what we wanted to do with the band were different. And I don't know, I just think I was probably a little bit more difficult to, you know, just because I was always on the go and wanting to work. And I don't think everybody was like super ready for that.
Fair enough. I've never been in a band, man. I've always been like a one-man show, so I imagine it's hard to get multiple pieces to all work in conjunction.
Yeah, anymore, I wish I would have like played guitar or sang so I could have been a one-man show. Yeah, like a lot of moving parts in bands with different peoples, a lot of personalities, you know, and it's really hard to juggle all that stuff and keep people happy, you know, keep people feeling like they're contributing or feeling, you know, that everybody's an equal piece to the project and stuff. It's a lot of stuff to deal with.
For sure. And punk rock too, yeah, where you're scraping by too. So you really gotta have a deep passion and love for what you're doing. Not just punk rock, but I think punk rock probably doesn't blow up as quickly as say other stuff, maybe, right?
Totally.
Sometimes it does.
Yeah, sometimes. With us, like what I want to do is like we had the Lillingtons, which is you know obviously pop punk.
That blew up.
Yeah, and I think us being, you know, from Wyoming, and it really came through. Like Joe from the Queers took a liking to Cody's stuff, you know, and just having Joe Queer take notice, you know. And then at one point, you know, our songwriting really hadn't, I guess, like really hadn't come into itself. Really haven't like it came into a sound, but we kind of lucked out with writing Lillington High, which ended up on a comp that at the time was like one of the most, you know, popular comps that was out there and stuff. And so like Lillington High got picked, you know, like was heard by, you know, thousands of people.
Which comp?
It was called Just Add Water. So, or Just Add Water was the record label, and the comp was called I Can't Believe It's Not Water. And it was owned by a guy named Jason Duncan. And he at one time was the bass player for the band The Parasites. And so he put it out, and we were on there with like, you know, I can't remember all the bands on there, but like, you know, I think like Teen Idols, The Nobodies, I don't even know.
Oh, wow.
Screeching Weasel, or, you know, there's just like a lot of
solid names.
Yeah, like second at the time, like second tier and third tier, like, you know, like these up and coming pop punk bands. But, you know, with Lillington I at that time, I think we were like the first band to put like this chant, you know, when we wrote Lillington High, we're like Cody wrote the chords and we're sitting there and I kind of start going, L, I, L, you know, like I could hear this chant, you know, because I was always a fan of that band Saturday Night, that old 70s song where it's like SATUR. Yeah. So I was
Doesn't
like,
High Standard do a cover of that?
Yeah. Yeah, so I was like trying to come up with like something, you know, like in my head. I mean, we're on high school, so it was something kind of like, you know, like within pop punk, something that would get like the crowd, like, you know, chanting the name.
Yeah.
So I came up with this chant, you know, and it's time we were like the only band that like had like put something like that in there. So when this comp came out and people heard that chant just totally like that's like flipped the switch on for us. You know, it was all over after that. Every show, everybody wanted to hear that song and everybody wanted to, you know, to chant the word, you know.
Was it the closer or the opener? Or how did you do that?
It was the longest time it's always been the closer. Sometimes we obviously got sick of the song, so we got, you know, to move it in towards like the second, like maybe, you know, the third or fourth song to the last one. They want to be the last one, you know.
Yeah.
But folks did not, you know, fans didn't like that. It has to be the closer, I think, you know. And as an entertainer, you know, you try it and it doesn't work. You're like, yeah, that wasn't, you know, they don't respond really well to it, you know. And I think as fans, you want to be left like, high-fiving your friends, being like, fuck, that was a great show,
Yeah.
and so I think like putting Lillington high at the end is the way to, to blow out that candle, because at the end everybody's like, fuck yeah, that was good, because everybody's singing and calling on each other.
But you guys are, you're over it. But I feel for band like someone like Pennywise, say, who's closing, like they can't not close the show with Bro Him, and that's like from their first album, like however many years ago, right?
Excuse me.
And of course they still come out and do it, and everyone's stoked. But I mean, Dropkicks have tried to sort of rewrite the script and change their last song, and
it doesn't work. Unfortunately, like everybody has done that. Everybody like has put out a song that has been a hit, and you play it and you get sick of it, and then you're like, well, we're going to do what we want to do, and it doesn't work, because you always go back saying, fans aren't happy about that. We have to do what we need to do. Give the fans what they want.
Got to keep the fans happy for sure. You got to stay happy yourself too, and stay stoked. Like so yeah. I actually do public speaking, and I kind of get that struggle where I'm always like, I tell a story, but you want to like mix it up. You want to you don't want to be verbatim and come out and do exactly the same thing every time, because then you kind of feel like you're phoning it in, right? So you want to have some sort of be spontaneous if you can, and just switch it up here and there, and but also deliver your best show. So,
I mean, it gets it's hard, because you want to give everybody a great show. And it got to the point where, like, prior to walking on, then it became the chant for, so the crowd started.
That's what I was thinking. The chant would like come, yeah.
It started coming at the beginning for a walk on. If we the lights would dim and people would start chanting, and we'd let them chant for a little bit before walking on to really build it up and stuff, But yeah, it was a great song. I mean, if there was any song that I think that made the band, it was Lillington High.
Yeah, cool, man. Did you guys tour Vancouver? Like, I don't know how the hell. Like, I love punk rock. I'm always searching out new punk rock. I don't know how the hell the Lillingtons flew under my radar. I don't think I heard Death by Television until maybe 10 years ago, and it blew my mind, and I was like, there's been a few bands like that. I remember Streetlight Manifesto. I was in like Zoomies, and I was like, what the fuck is this you're playing? Streetlight Manifesto. I'm like, what? Have I heard of them? Like, went and bought all 3 of their albums. Like, oh my God, new favorite band. And that was the same with you guys. I was like, how have I never heard this? And so I think I missed out all those years of touring that I wouldn't have gone to the show because I didn't know. But did you do stuff? And have you done tours like Vancouver?
I believe we have, when we were younger and stuff, like this last touring, the last bit of touring that we did, I don't think we did play Vancouver. I think I definitely, like the last 10 years or this last time that we got back together and started touring, really didn't pay attention to where we were going or what we were doing. I was just getting in the van and going. But definitely when we were younger, we most definitely were there. But the thing about with the Lillingtons though is that when we started, we were trying to be that band that didn't want to do interviews. We didn't want to do interviews. We didn't want
this
pictures.
Makes sense. This is how you were so mysterious.
Yeah, we didn't want to do pictures and stuff, promo pictures or videos. That's why you don't find any over the last 27 years, you only find one official video that has us in it officially versus people have made videos of us that's used live footage of us playing a live show, or they've done animation or used other people, but there is only one video out there that it's an actual official Lillingtons video that actually has us in as the band playing. And then that's just because the record label was like, hey dudes, you guys, we got to get with the times. You have to got to put out a video, But we always wanted to keep that mystique going, because we could walk in and nobody would know whether we were a show goer or we were the band. And then and so I think that plays into a lot of we did fly very low under the radar for a lot of people and stuff just because of that. Because I feel like bands anymore, there's a lot of bands anymore that when we started our band, it was about having fun and just playing songs that we wanted to play, and then any success was just bonus. But there are bands out there now that are wholeheartedly like, this is a business, and any fun that we have on it is the bonus. And
Yeah.
and I see so many bands, they're just trying. It's a different world now. It's a different mindset, and it's just like, to me, it's not as enjoyable. The bands that are just like, we're all in it to make this a fucking brand, and this is our brand. We're going to build it up, and because I don't think there's any like a whole lot. The music might be good, but I feel like it's contrived. It's not. I don't think it's honest music, or it doesn't have like. The only way I can describe it is like, so there was that.
Hey, Tim, give me 1 sec, because I think I got some weird. Can you hear that on your end? Hold on 1 sec. Sorry, stop. I'm gonna close my window here. I think there's like a fan or some shit's going. 1 sec. There's a bit of background noise. Sorry about that, dude.
Yeah, you did.
I've got like 3 fans going. It's we got like a heat wave here. It's supposed to be like 40 Fahrenheit or 40 Celsius Fahrenheit. Which is crazy in June. So it's like, yeah, anyways, I could just hear this sort of like droning, and hopefully when this interview comes out, if there was a little droning, there isn't anymore. So
yeah, I didn't really hear it on my end. So
I could definitely hear it on mine, and I don't know if there was maybe because it was coming through my mic. Who knows? But I got these big puppies on too. So anyway, sorry about that. So yeah, we were just talking about bands these days, and
yeah, so like
it was bands these days. No.
Bands these days. I just we toured a lot. We toured a lot with these like newer bands that have like the newer bands, these new generation bands, and I got to know them and everything, and they're nice people, enough. But I just didn't think like there was like to me, I didn't feel it in the music that you would like. There are certain bands when I would listen to things, I would feel the honesty in that music. I would feel like the message. It would really hit me. Like, Minor Threat, I can feel like that was honest music being made for its time, right? So
for the sake of making music and having a message. Yeah.
And so like, I gotta tell you, like, I haven't listened to anything else by this band. And I only listened to what was like I saw like through social media or whatever. But that band, that all-girl band, the Lindas, these younger ladies, that kind of just blew up, right? Yeah. So I heard the song, and they're young girls. They're not super proficient on their instruments, but that was like I was like talking to Chris Sherry actually, and I said that was the most honest music I've heard in a long time, because I could hear that in their message. I could hear that like. Even though they were limited, like on their skills in playing, which they were better than I was when I was their age.
And who gives a fuck? It's punk rock. Like, you're supposed to not be good, like for a little bit.
I think that was also what made it so honest and good. It was because they weren't limited, they weren't limiting themselves, and it wasn't like. I don't know. There was just something very, very special about that band, and I think everybody saw it, including Epitaph Records. They saw that there was integrity in what they did. It was like, I mean, honestly, I felt like through social media, Chris and I said that was probably the most punk rock band that I heard in a very, very long time, and I sincerely mean that. I think that is those bands were very genuine and more punk rock than a lot of stuff that's been put out by all the big labels lately. So, to me, like that's the big thing is like it's got to be
good for Epitaph for signing a punk band.
Yeah.
It's about time. It's been about 40 years now.
Yeah, get back. But they, I think that's the thing is, I mean, me personally, my opinion is like, we're in a world now that we have so many bands that are worried on their following, their fans, how many fans they have, what merch they're putting out, that the music is kind of becoming a byproduct.
It's like where it's secondary.
Yeah, exactly. It's
But it's different though too, right? Because you think about like you didn't have social media really, you couldn't really just promote yourself all the time on social media, maybe a little bit, but not to the extent now. There was CD sales. Now it's like put out an album like for a new band, which sucks because I'm the guy who like I love an album listening top to bottom, as a package and it all fits together and reading the liner notes. Like I don't even have a fucking CD player in my truck, on my computer, in my home. Like I buy records. I got to buy record players still yet, but it's just it's different times, right? For sure.
It is, and I don't blame people. I mean, everybody, has their own, ambitions and goals that they want to achieve and stuff, but me as a musician or me as a fan or me as a first time listener of somebody, to me, it's really important about how a band is projecting themselves to their fans,
Yep.
so to me that band, the Lindas, was very super pure. And the message was like they were just an honest band, so I really enjoyed it. Haven't listened to anything else by them because I'm one of those guys that be like, listen to 40 seconds, move on, and I just short attention span, so
Yeah. But that's also the world we live in. Everything's condensed and whatever. I'd say Pears would be a newer, but they've been around for what? I don't even know. Probably been signed to Fat for 10 years. They've got some passion and some heart. And
I agree with that. I'm not. I like the guys. Definitely like the guys in Pairs. I mean, to be honest, I'm not a like a. I like what I like. I grew up on Lagwagon, Minor Threat. Bad Religion and stuff like that. So Pairs, they're I like them, but it's I don't have them like in my rotation or anything like that. But they do like make like that's another band that makes honest music.
and a kick-ass live show.
Oh yeah.
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 I'm the same. Like I'm not, because their music's like, it's like spastic, man. It's like, it's hard. It's all over the place. Right. So for me, I grew up on Bad Religion, like all the Epitaph, fat, stuff pretty much. So yeah, it's a different sound. But like the songs that work, the songs that catch my ear are like, man.
For me, I think that's one because the songs are all over the place or like spastic. I don't know, I guess because I can't predict the changes, or I can't predict, like it's not like a mathematical like correct song built like
No.
that I don't know. I just, I listen to them. I got them on my, but it's not like something that's in my everyday rotation. I'm a nerd like that. I have like certain bands that are in my rotation, and they've been in my rotation for probably the last 10 years, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I've kind of got that, but I finally got Spotify. Shouldn't say finally. I had to get it because my iPod, I was hanging on to that thing for dear life because of all the years and years of music that I bought. For the most part, had plugged into that thing, and mostly because I bought most of the music from iTunes and stuff like that. So, but I kind of like the Spotify because I can just dig around for music on there, and you like it. It goes to a playlist. My liked playlist has so much new music on it, and I'm finding all this new stuff and kind of go down like rabbit holes where all of a sudden it's like garage punk, lo-fi kind of stuff, and then I'm into like kind of the whole very like crust ska kind of stuff. I don't know, but there's a real cool mix on there. But I also have like, dude, I've got like my early Bad Religion and like No Effects, and of course I got the Lillingtons on there, and so a little bit of both, but definitely know what you mean. I like what I like, and still go back to the classics.
Yep. I think everybody does that. It's very seldom nowadays that a band will really grab me and hook me, and I want to search them out and stuff. But I don't know if that's just a part of getting old or what,
But, we're those guys. The music isn't this shit you kids listen to these days.
Yeah. But I mean, sometimes there'll be a band that catches we talked about Brutal Youth yesterday.
Yeah.
So that was a band that caught I played with them at a festival. They played right before us. And that was a band that caught my attention across the room. And I was like, fuck, great band and stuff, you know. And at one point, their drummer was getting ready to exit the band, and even though I was in New Mexico at the time, and we kind of Patty and I had talked about me coming. He was a fan of the Lillingtons and drumming for him. And what had happened was like I worked like all summer, like playing on these electric drums where we lived. You know, Standing Back was done. You know, we live in a house where I can't have play an acoustic drum set because of the neighbors and stuff. So I had this electric drum set and headphones, and I worked on these songs all summer. And when I finally got up there, like we were leaving for tour, they were going out with Authority Zero, and it was 3 days before tour. So I come in and I'm supposed to rehearse with these guys, and it just didn't translate. Like it was like I sat down. I don't know if I don't want to make excuses for anything for myself, you know, for like, but it was like not
blame Canada. Blame Canada.
Yeah, but I sat down and we started playing the songs, and it just. I wasn't cutting the mustard like I was trying to, you know, like I thought like Patty and I had literally would send him videos, you know, via internet, and he'd be like, yeah, like it looks good, everything looks good. But when I finally went to sit down and do it live and stuff, it just was kind of like a train wreck, and it really bummed me out because like I spent the money to get up to Canada. I was bringing like made T-shirts, you know, brought the shirts and hoodies with me and all this stuff, you know, that I made. And they literally, I felt so bad for them because it just wasn't going to work, you know. And and at this point, I felt a little bit of friction between you know, I could tell the guitar player was really frustrated because I think Patty really went out on a limb, you know, telling him like, you know, even though like this guy's so far away, it's going to work, and it ended up not working. So I, you know, I agreed the frustration on it. So I was just like, kind of like accepting defeat, and I was like, this, you know, this isn't gonna work, you know, and they ended up like having to like throw a Hail Mary and get the drummer, I think that they have now, talk him into like going on a tour in 3 days, you know. Yeah, him with the shape
and learning the songs too, or
yeah, I think he played with them before, like on as an you know, like when their other drummer wasn't available, he had played with them, so he knew the songs. But, you know, I think, you know, Patty really wanted, you know, to have me, and I really wanted to be part of it, you know, and stuff. But like at that point, it was just kind of like meeting the other members in the band for the first time, and the frustration that this wasn't, you know, or the stress 3 days before tour that I wasn't, you know, working out, and it was just like, and so I kind of went home with my tail tucked between my legs, you know. I was like, pretty bummed out and stuff, you know, and because, you know, this was the first time being in someone else's band, you know, versus like starting the band from the ground up, you know. So I always feel like when I go into someone else's band, or if I was to play in someone else's band, it's their rules, their, you know, I'm the one that's joining their group and stuff. And so, you know, I just kind of, I don't know, I was really like bummed out for a couple of weeks afterwards and stuff, and I know that they were bummed out and stuff, like, you know, just kind of like just like I don't even know the word I'm looking for, like we would chat, but it was kind of like, hey, how's it going? Good, you know, just like, you know, not like we chatted. It wasn't like how we used to like talk about all kinds
like the ex-girlfriend, basically.
Yeah, it was like that. I really love that band, and you know, and I hope, you know, they're still doing good and playing and stuff. But like, it definitely like it was definitely an ego blow for me, you know. But in the end, it was for the better, you know. Because we had considered moving, you know, up like Pennsylvania to be closer to them and everything like that. That's where my family is originally from, so I was like, that'd be a good place for us. But, you know, I couldn't imagine, like, you know, where I'd be in life right now had that, you know, worked out or whatnot, you know. The really bad thing about, for me, like bands is bands kind of get stuck into a time warp, so to speak, you know. Like dudes that playing in the band with, like that I played in band, are still doing the same things we were doing 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you know. And there's at 43, there's, a lot of things, different other things that I want to do with my life,
You're talking about sex, drugs, and sex, drugs, booze.
Sex, drugs, or rock and roll. No,
Yeah, I was gonna say you still want to rock and roll. You don't want to lose that part.
I don't know if it's that. It's just that, like, I want to say the band is the focal point, or their music is the anchor in their lives and stuff, And when you are a band person and you're doing band things, everything revolves around band stuff. All your friends are band people. All of your, things that you go to are band related, and I just, other things that I wanted to do, I was quite heavier at one point, and I got into a gym and I lost 100 pounds. I was way, way heavy, and
probably easier to do when you're not on the road eating fast food
or doing
Pabst Blue Ribbon,
drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon, or doing recreational drugs daily.
Yeah.
So I made this decision. I'm like, I'm gonna do a 180. I'm gonna get, I need to do this for my health, because it was my band. It was the Lillingtons that kind of sat me down and had this little intervention. Even though none of those guys are fit by any means, but they were like, I was really unfit by their standards. And so if you got the chubby guy telling the fat guy that you're, there's something definitely wrong.
You were the fatty in the Lillingtons.
Yeah. So I started, going to the gym, and besides doing that, I started doing other things about, like, I started reading things about fitness. I started reading things about motivation and stuff, and the biggest thing that ever stuck with me is was the thing that said, surround yourself with the people that you want to be like, that you want to do. Now, in Colorado Springs, where I live, it's the biggest military city in the United States. We have multiple military installations here. NORAD is here. That's where we control a lot of, missiles, and everything is controlled from here. And
God bless America.
Yeah, the world's GPS is controlled here.
Oh, what's the world GPS?
So when you get in your car, or your phone, and you turn on your maps, and it's all controlled here.
Oh, so that's like the main computer power station. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of there's a high security military stuff that happens here. So, of course, it's a military town. So at my gym, I'm going to class, I start to make friends there. And at first I'm kind of like, these are all bro dudes. I don't need this. I don't.
These are the guys who beat you up for being in a punk band.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I got to know these guys, these dudes, and some of them were punk rockers, and they were people that were listening to bands and stuff like that. But I started working out and made friends with a couple Green Berets, our special forces guys that were active duties, and that's the top of the top. And so when we would work out, these dudes would be like, I would want to quit, and they're like, nah, you're not quitting.
Yeah.
You can do this. When I thought I couldn't lift this weight or push this or lift, they motivated me to be a better version of myself, and so along with that, I started seeing a lot of doors opening up and stuff. Currently our shop does the merchandise for the 10th Group Special Forces guys,
Oh, cool. Yeah, tell us about the shop, by the way. You're in a print shop right now.
Yeah, so we're in a print shop. I have a screen printing press behind me. When I was touring, I took some of my money from tour and bought this equipment. There was a shop that was going out of business in Denver, and they couldn't take it with them. And I kind of played the holdout game until the last day before they actually had to be out of their shop. And the guy sold it to me for a ridiculous price, and I brought it to Colorado Springs and opened it up. And it was with plans just to do shirts for bands. That was a big thing. I'm going to be a merch company and do, and
stay in the scene too, right?
Yeah, cool. Yeah. But then once you get in there and you start looking at things, it's every other punk band has some member that's got a screen print shop that's doing the same thing as you are and stuff. And so, I was like, I I'm going to just do it, like open it to the public. And when we opened it to the public, then, I would get orders. Like my gym was like, you do shirts, we'll do all of our shirts through you. So I've done, so many thousands of shirts for my gym, which is awesome, and people in my gym have brought me business and all this stuff, and so like it had really, we've done a lot of cool stuff, printing for folks, but when the pandemic hit, we were really nervous because our landlord didn't give us any kind of relief. Rent was still due no matter what was going on. When we were everybody was on house arrest, or whatever that's called. We couldn't leave the house or whatever because we weren't essential workers.
Lockdown.
Yeah, lockdown. We were paying for a shop that we weren't able to even come to and use. And landlord was kind of like, sorry, I have bills to pay too. There is no.
Yeah, fuck it.
And so we were really scared. Like I was scared for sure where we were getting money to pay for bills because working for myself. I can't apply for unemployment. So I'm
the same deal, man. I get it. Yeah.
Had the fire department hit me up, and the fire department wanted an order. And I was like, we're on lockdown. We're non-essential. And so I got a letter from the fire department that literally says, Vivaprint is making our uniforms, is supplying our uniforms. And it then turned my business into an essential employee business.
Oh, sweet. Nice.
So I was able to come in and start using the shop. Business wasn't great, but because of like business being really up and down, I started, being like, I would need to do something that's going to like give like our family some stability. Lori does pay like the bulk of our bills. She's got a very thriving like design business that does really, really well. But, she's kind of like taking the bulk of everything. And so allowing me to try to make the print shop work or, whatever, kind of get up, So I ended up deciding I was going to get into medicine. So I applied and got accepted to E school and put myself through EMT school and graduated about 3 weeks ago from that. And so
that's it. Congratulations on that. That's awesome, man.
Thanks. So it's one of those deals that, from outside, you're like, oh, this is awesome. I'm going to be one of these frontline heroes. And then you get to that spot, then you're like, oh man, I got to get up to this next level to be it's like kind of like the band. It's a never ending climb, you're never, but anyway, the main thing was like all of this stuff that has happened has all been spawned from the gym, from losing weight. So I go to the gym. I'm working out with my buddy. He's a Green Beret paratrooper. He's a combat medic. So him and I are always talking about when he goes and deploys and does these, these special missions and stuff. And that's like stuff that was really intriguing. Here's this guy and I'm 43 and he's like, his 30s. He's like, jumping out of planes and stuff. Yeah. I'm like, man, I kind of feel like a shit. I kind of went around the country as a bum playing drums and you're jumping out of planes and, but anyway, I got interested in, besides doing the gym, I got interested in doing a thing called Krav Maga. Have you ever heard of Krav?
It sounds familiar, but I have no idea what it is.
So it is a form of self-defense, and it's kind of like the no bullshit karate. All right, so Krav isn't taught everywhere. Like they teach it here because they teach it to the special ops guys, but it is supposed to be like the truest form of self-defense because there's like no bowing to your sensei or bowing to your partner or worrying about like spinning around and kicking and all this stuff. It's full on like tactical like street fighting, like
whooping ass.
Yeah, it's like beat down,
Yeah.
So I started, Lori and I actually like, we want to do an activity together. Let's find something that we can do together, kind of like, some couples ballroom dance or whatever. We found Krav Maga. We're like, let's go take this stuff. So we found like this group on.
Do you kick the shit out of other couples?
Sometimes. Yeah.
That's it.
So
it's a double date for you. It's just ass whooping.
Well, when Lori, to be honest, when Lori goes, Lori likes to like spar with me, and I like to spar with her, just because I really want out of all of this, if anybody was to be ready, if they were ever attacked, I want my wife to be ready.
Yeah, man.
And I want to be, we have a bad issue with sex trafficking here in Colorado Springs. It's a very big issue. We have a lot of ladies that go missing and being attacked all the time. In fact, our friend, a friend of a friend was like attacked like 2 days ago. Was walking out of a parking lot and a homeless person attacked her, pulled a taser from her, tased her with her own taser, kicked her face in, broke her ribs, and we, in the neighborhood we live in, isn't very good either. We have a very, very diverse neighborhood with some really shady things happening. I had a gun pulled on me 6 months ago. 3 weeks ago, there was a drug deal that went bad, and a kid was shot in the face and landed in our yard. Literally, like I'm walking out in my jockeys, 11 o'clock at night, and there's a kid, with his eye hanging out of his socket, holding his, and so anyway, this all ties back to Krav. So we started going to Krav, right, and we started doing this, and I spar with Lori because I want my wife to know the force. I'm not intentionally hitting her closed fist with all my, but if you don't really practice like being actually, feeling what it feels like, the force, of a man or someone bigger than you coming up and taking you, like if that ever happens in real life, you're not going to be prepared for that, and so she'll practice with other women and stuff, and then she'll always get in like a couple spars with me so she can actually know like the force, what a real force feels like of somebody, if they were to grab her or whatnot. So we're doing this Krav stuff, and my coach comes up to me and he was like, you have a pretty natural like ability with this stuff. He's like, you're kind of like a natural, and he's like, have you ever done martial arts? And I was like, no. So he started kind of like, we started going to class a lot more because I was like, oh, cool, I'm good at something, really cool at this. And then he comes up to me one day and he was like, hey, so I used to be a captain on the SWAT team, and he's like, I have this other partner who's the current captain. And he was like, we host like tactical courses. And I'm like, yeah, so what, like you guys are running around like somersaulting and peeking over cars and stuff like that?
Yeah.
He was like, no, not exactly. He was like, we do like pistol courses and rifle courses. We show folks how to, shoot a rifle or shoot a pistol or do all this stuff. But he was like, we do that for like people who are wanting to, for self-protection. But he's like, the tactical courses are more about tactical strategy, shooting from cars, shooting from around corners and different spots and things like that, shooting a rifle one-handed, or shooting, all this stuff that, so he's like, I want you to come take class. Right. So we go and take their basic pistol course. They passed it, took their intermediate, took their advanced, found out I'm really, really good at shooting, really, really good at shooting. Right. And so, I started kind of like taking these tactical courses where learning, like shooting AR-15s, like pistols and stuff, shooting these rifles and stuff. And I got to like tell everybody this, like never, ever, ever had a gun in my house until this point. Like I wasn't a believer in firearms. My dad gave me a shotgun one time. I traded it for a dirt bike, and we just never had any home protection. But I started doing this stuff, and it was
in Wyoming. I imagine there's probably people have guns, and
people do have
probably
guns.
a lot of hunting and stuff like that.
But
right?
I was the kid with blue hair. I was the kid, that they were yelling from their trucks and shit, throwing shit at me. So I was really anti. I was never anti-gun. I just was like, I have no use for this, or whatever. But those classes came very natural to me, and I excelled at them. And I was like, I'm good at something else besides playing drums or doing that. It was like something that people who were working in, going on these like special ops missions are saying, dude, you should have went and done this in the military. You are really, really good at it. So anyway, we continued on with that. Now I started doing these classes, and I think, people saw me, like I post pictures on Facebook of me at a pistol course or in my tactical gear shooting stuff, and I think timing of it all was like, was really bad because like this is all as pandemics rolling in, Black Lives Matter has started and everything, and then you get this chatter of all the Proud Boys stuff. So all of a sudden you see like a punk rock drummer who is now wearing a plate carrier, with an AR-15, shooting stuff. And like, I didn't know this, but like people were like, there was like chatter and rumors that like I was like, had become some kind of Proud Boy.
Oh yeah.
And our record label literally called Toby from Red Scare, calls me and he's like, I got you something. He was like, there's rumor. And I was like, who would ever like, say that, I was like, why would they say that? And they're like, well, they're seeing you like with all this military militia, that's like, it's not militia. It's, like tactical courses, like it's not a militia. It's me going to school, learning how to, it's like SWAT training is what SWAT school is doing. And I was like, and that doesn't like, that's not the same thing of, and I was like, I don't know where that came from, but that really made me sad. That really bummed me out that just because like I started picking up and like learning a new, skill that all of a sudden like some of these people in the punk community are kind of like had started this rumor about me, and I could tell people, I was like, if anything, with me having this gun, all this gun experience and all these skills and stuff, I'd say, if anything, how about like, I told him, I said, it would be me defending you non-gun owners against people like the Proud Boys. It'd be me defending myself, our community against that, that section over there. But I was like, I
or a
don't know.
Dimebag Daryl kind of situation at a show or something. Who knows, right?
Yeah, it was not even like a show thing, but I was just saying, like, if I ever, like, I had no intention ever to, like, hopefully ever have to use like a firearm or anything, but it was more so like, if shit ever hit the fan and our economy crashes or we go into an apocalyptic, world or whatever.
You're already halfway there.
Yeah, I was like having this training to defend my home, my family, and to defend people who couldn't defend themselves. Not, to defend the people that were the problem, not me, like being part of the problem. And, and so he was like, no, he's like, I got you. He was like, and so like, that kind of really was like, really had bothered me that, like all of a sudden there was this rumor going through, like, since I started like, doing these tactical courses that I was associated with, this Proud Boy movement or whatever. But all of this stuff has led me in. So I did these courses and then I was like, how can I get a job? Print shop, is still iffy, orders coming in here and there because, a lot of people weren't printing as many things, during the pandemic. So, I definitely knew, like, I don't want to be a cop. I would like to be on the SWAT team, but I don't want to be a cop in order to be on the SWAT team. That's kind of, no, I'm not a cop. No fucking way, But I was looking, and then I was like, fire department has a team called the TEMS team, which is called Tactical Emergency Medicine. The medics don't have to be cops. They are part of the fire department. So that's where I went to EMT school, because every EMT here in Colorado, to be a firefighter, you have to be an EMT. You have to get that license.
Oh, okay.
And so I went and got my EMT license. And now I'm working towards, like, going to the fire department so I can work with their TEMS team. And all that means is, like, I will be like be a combat medic, and follow like SWAT team in. And if people are, are shot or things like that, then we'll like provide interventions in assistance to, like in those types of situations. But again, I've done like a lot of crazy shit in my life, you know, like I've done like a lot of, my life has had like a lot of different chapters, you know. It hasn't been really, you know, from playing drums or living in Honduras as a Mormon missionary, you know, like I've done a crazy lot of things and stuff, you know, and like to me, like when Cody had left the Lillingtons, you know, said he was done, you know, that really put the, you know, I had retired. Him and I had a talk on the phone a couple months prior to him like coming out on Facebook and saying that he was done with the Lillingtons. But I had already had left the band. I already retired because I was like, I need to do something to bring money into our house, you know, and I was kind of putting myself out on the line, hoping we could get some Lillingtons tours going or something that would help us generate some money and stuff, you know. But
And this is, what year is this? Sorry.
that would have been probably last year.
Okay, so you played on like the last Fat album, though, right?
Yeah, I played on everything. The only thing I never played on was the back channel broadcast.
Okay.
So, yeah, I kind of put it out there like, you know, we need to do something to help generate income. And you know, there just wasn't any interest there to, you know, like to do anything. And so I was like, well, I got to do what I got to do to, you know, to help make some, you know, to help provide some, you know, financial stability for my family, you know.
You gotta live.
Yeah. So that's one of those deals. Is just, it wasn't like walking away from the band, but it was kind of like switching gears. I'm doing something different now. You know, I'm really happy. I landed a job with an ambulance service prior to getting my EMT license. And they started me out doing medical transport. And so I transported people who were in wheelchairs. And
I'm in a wheelchair, by the way. Did you know that?
I did know that.
What's up, brother?
And that's like one of the, yeah, and you know, like it's one of those things like where, you know, you have like eye awakening moments like doing that type of stuff. Like there had been times where I had a passenger and like afterwards I maybe sat in my rig and you know, wept a little bit just because of the conversation I had, and I really felt what they were going through and what the struggle that they had. But you know, like this felt like very good to me. It felt like I was getting back in touch with my human side, and not so much worrying about being a rock star, you know. And
you did that for a lot of years though, right?
You know, no, you on band or
you
shout.
always are, man. It's on record. It's on CD. It's on cassette, maybe too.
Yeah,
you know, like,
it's just that the people are, you know, band people are shallow. They're fake, you know, and stuff. And I never like that. I like to be real. I like to have, you know, connections with folks and stuff, you know. And I never ever thought I'd be driving around at 43 years old, be driving around, you know, a bunch of special needs folks. But you know what? Traded that for the world. You know,
yeah.
I got a little guy that specifically asked for me because I let him jam his gospel CD and stuff. You know, and
yeah.
I think like, I don't know, these transports, doing this medical transport stuff healed me in a way. Like, you know, I kind of had like band scar tissue, I guess, you know, but it like doing this job, I mean, it's not glorious or anything, but it definitely helped me like have a very like compassionate and loving, you know, advocate side for these people, you know. And I think that's why I am pretty happy where I'm at as far as being an EMT, you know. Like the plan is now is to, right now is like I've been applying with the fire department, and we'll probably start working with the fire department spring of next year, you know. But I work for the ambulance, our EMS service here in Colorado Springs. I work on an ambulance, and you know, hopefully next year, probably fall of next year, we'll go into paramedic school and get my paramedic license. And end goal is, you know, I want to work a little bit on that tactical emergency team, just try that out to get some experience. But like,
and I think that's important. Like, wasn't there, like, sort of interrupt, but I'm thinking this before we kind of, after we pass this, but wasn't there like a fucking mass shooting, not like in Colorado, not long, like I feel, I go down there and speak in schools, and I'm in an assembly, and I'm always thinking like, this would be the ideal place for one of these mass shootings to go down. Like, it's in your mind now, and I think that, I'm not a gun person either, but it's crazy times, man. And, you got to look after yourself and look after your family. And if you're looking after society, that's amazing too.
Well,
And
I don't think, I mean, I want to say is like, I've become very like, I've always been the type of person that's been like, Kevin, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life or judge you, but don't tell me how to live mine, live and let live, whatever you do,
yeah,
love is love between two consenting adults, if you
what
want to
about
be,
three consenting adults?
that's cool too, man.
Okay, good.
you know,
Because I have a big night tonight. I just want to make sure you're.
yeah, but like, like I've always had that I don't judge folks, especially like, was talk about like substance abuse, people who use, narcotics. I also understand how shitty of a world that we live in. We live in a place where people should be making a lot more money than they should,
Yeah.
like we're talking, people are working 2 and 3 jobs just to survive, while bigger corporations and companies are making more things more expensive for us to buy, but also they're not also like raising the cost of living wage, and so
And those companies aren't paying taxes.
yeah, there's all that shit. And so like you have people that can't afford to take family vacations, they can't afford to escape their reality. What they can afford is they can afford to get some illegal drugs and escape their reality for a couple hours. And I don't fucking blame anybody for that,
No.
like you have people that work 3 jobs and then go home and party for the weekend and stuff, but it's just a crappy place, so I don't blame anybody, for wanting to escape that reality. But the fact of the matter is like we have a lot of bad stuff happening and it's getting worse and worse, and I just kind of felt like I saw the writing on the wall and said, Lori, I think we should go. We're going to go do this crop, but I think we should learn how to shoot a pistol, because if things really, really got bad, we would know how to, protect ourselves, and, things happen here. I don't like, it sucks that people do like their shootings and people are turning to gun violence and stuff, but at the same time, I would be like, I know that's really terrible, everybody, but I don't feel like taking the guns away will like solve anything, because I don't have a gun. I don't feel I'm able to protect myself, I think I only say this is because my opinion is that when it comes to, the war on drugs, we didn't do anything to stop the war on drugs.
No, I was just thinking that there shouldn't be a war on drugs. There should be a like a fight to find the cure for mental illness and addiction. Like,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, because we've made drugs illegal, but people have found ways to secure those drugs, in a very easy way.
And torn families apart because people have gone to jail their whole life for drug possession, and then people grow up without a dad and with someone, a parent or mom. It's fucked up, man.
So I kind of feel like the same thing would happen is like, it is a terrible, terrible thing that people are using, or we're having these shootings. It is the most fucking absolute horrible thing. But I think if if they were ever to come up with a legitimate thing that allowed, these guns to be removed, we would still have issues, I believe, with the underbelly of society having access to them.
How many guns are in America? Like, there's no. I mean, it would take probably 200 years if it was a full-on campaign. You'd never get rid of all the guns. People are going to find what they want them.
And even if they like had succeeded, people will find ways to create chaos. Like I was just telling, you could do anything to create, if you wanted to harm somebody, you'd find a way if you really wanted to do it. It's just the mechanism of injury, the gun being like the tool, the mechanism of injury, if that's taken away, there's just going to be something else put in its place, But with that, so I wanted to explore to be the good guy, that, the medic guy, and go and get experience, put these rifle and tactical skills to use, be paid for them, working for the fire department as, part of the Thames team. But ultimately, once I get my paramedic license and get out of P school, I would like to work on as a flight medic. So I'd be on a helicopter, as like one of the Flight for Life medics and stuff here in in the States. I don't know. I'm sure they probably have in Canada when there's really bad traumatic accidents and stuff. They have a helicopter land in and fly the trauma patient to the hospital.
For sure.
I'd
That'd be an interesting job, man.
Yeah. I mean, I've always had a knack for this stuff. I mean, it was Boy Scouts when growing up, got my Eagle and Scouts and everything. I always liked, the life-saving and the medicine and the first aid side of things, but it really, it kind of makes you realize I'm glad that I have these skills and stuff. When we were on tour, we played a show in St. Louis and we were driving up to Chicago for the following night. We drove halfway and we had this kid flag us down in the middle of the road, and he was like, I hit him, and we're like, what? And he's like, I hit him. And what happened was this kid was in his car and he was texting on his phone and driving, and he just merged over and merged into a van. And this is the worst story ever. This van was a puppy delivery van.
Oh, no.
This van was a van that would go across country and deliver puppies from people who bought, say if you're in California and you bought this puppy from a breeder in Virginia, they would drive it across, right? So
so it's the happiest thing in the world to the worst.
Puppy van, right? Full of 20 puppies. Well, this van went down in the median and rolled, and it ejected both people out of it. And a good story. I mean, not a good ending for them, but all the puppies were alive and okay. They were just scared.
I like puppies more than people.
Yeah, but he took me to her. It's dark, and I'm smelling gasoline, smoke, and antifreeze. Lights are blinking from the van. All this shit's going on, and it's 3 a.m. in the morning, and senses are really peaked. And he takes me to this woman, and she's on the ground. Her pants have been ripped off of her. She has a huge laceration that ran from her femur down to the top of her tibia. She was just filleted open, and she was gripping the grass, and she had what's going on was called agonal gasps. It's called guppy breathing, and it's literally her chest. She had a double pneumothorax, which is both of your lungs have collapsed. Okay. And so she's trying to breathe, and she's doing the guppy breathing where she's just
oh man.
And there was nothing. So she's been ejected. And the one thing I can remember from being a lifeguard or Boy Scout was she might have a neck injury. She might have a spinal injury, because the first thing all my dudes ran over and they're like, let's get her over here on the side. And I was like, no, don't touch her. Don't touch her. Don't touch her. If she's got a broken neck or she's got a spinal injury, I was like, we have to Anyway, I kind of had to take charge and give everybody jobs. Corey, go grab the kid, sit him down, start talking to him, ask him what happened. Alex doesn't handle these situations well. So we could see a puppy running around the scene that fell out of the cage. Alex, go get that puppy.
Go get the puppy.
Yeah. Cody, go get me a sleeping bag out of the van. We need to put her, keep her warm and stuff, and we waited till EMS showed up, and I just held her hand and talked to her the whole time, but then when they showed up, they put the Lucas on her, which is the Lucas machine is a self CPR machine that goes over top of them, and it does the compressions itself. They put it on her for about 15 seconds and put a sheet over her. She was I know this now being through school, but when she was doing the guppy breathing, she was dying. And that's a point of no return. That's basically the soul leaving the body, and I when I saw it, when they put the sheet over her, I just broke down in the van and started sobbing, I was so I felt so bad for her that, they showed up, they finally got there, and then she, passes. And it sucked because they started to put the light plants out, they started to put these light plants up so they could assess the scene and everything. And her husband was halfway underneath the van, crushed. And
so they were a couple too.
Yeah, we didn't even see him because it was so dark out, but we don't even know if he was alive when we showed up. He could have been alive, and as we're running around, probably could have been grabbing at our feet trying to, but they were like, did you know guys know about, we're like, and even see him, you know. And that was a pretty, we had to finish there. We had like 4 days left to tour.
I was gonna say, man, how was that next show? Jeez.
We had to play Chicago the next night with the kind of like I mean, it's kind of like our epicenter of friends. Like that is like if there was a city that loved the Lillingtons like the most, that would be Chicago. Chicago would probably be like our epicenter for Lillingtons. But it was really hard because you had to put on that fake smile, put on that game face, and talk to everybody and stuff, you know. And then you just get these waves of grief hitting you when you think about it. And that shit really messed me up for like, I kept on seeing her face at night in my dreams and stuff. But I was able to, by getting on Facebook and talking to, like, looking up certain things and stuff, I was able to track down her family. And I was able to call their family, and it had like her sisters, and then her mom and dad. I wasn't able to find anything on the husband, but her. And I was able to talk to them, and I was able to get kind of like closure with that, to say, like, you know, I was there, and I held her hand to the end and talked to her, you know, that she didn't die alone, you know, that I was with her and stuff. And that really helped, having the family, you know, talk to, you know, me, like talking to them.
And that gave him some comfort and closure, I'm sure, too, right? Probably
yeah.
You too.
Yeah, it definitely did. But that was a turning point for me, thinking that, you know, I wish I would have known more. I could have done more, you know. So you add in all these other ingredients of being in a military town, you know, going to a gym that's, you know, 98% military folks, you know, they're pushing you and all this stuff. It was bound for me to kind of slip into this field of, you know, being an EMT and stuff. And it's been great, man. Like, I miss playing drums and stuff. You know, I got some friends here that are firefighters and EMTs. They're punk rockers, but they're, you know, they were firefighters and EMTs first, you know. But we're all talking about putting a band together and doing like a first responder band. You know,
do it, man. You know, the First Responders is actually a good name for a punk band.
Yeah, so we were like, you know, like a band that had like a good positive message, you know, and you know, just that way it's kind of nice, because you have the guys that you are all in the same line of work, you know, so you all have like the same type of outlook of, you know, on life and stuff like that. You know, you're working with dudes that aren't, you know, wrapped up in, you know, like alcoholics or, you know, abusing narcotics or anything like that. You know, you got all these guys that are family men also and stuff. So it's just, I say, like, more responsible and reliable as far as like getting together and doing things.
And the same town too, which makes it easier too, right?
Yeah. So we'll see if that happens. We sat down and had a band meeting, you know, a week ago and stuff. But again, you know, everybody's busy. There's lots of stuff that I want to do, you know, but I really, you know, I enjoyed playing and stuff. But at this point, I always tell people, I just don't know if that chapter of my life is done, or if I'll come back and, you know, do more or not, you know. Just never know, you know. Right now I'm got my eyes set on some pretty big goals that I want to accomplish, you know, and I think accomplishing those goals would also, you know, open so many doors for my family that it's kind of hard not, you know, to put that aside to go back to playing music.
No, hey man, I hear you. Go for it. Like for one, anybody listening, like Tim, take inspiration. This guy's made the most of his pandemic. You know, and you're taking charge of your life and doing things that make you feel good. And dude, that's amazing, bro. And you've done the punk rock thing, and maybe you'll do it again, and maybe you'll have the First Responders band or whatever. But you know, what you're doing right now is sick, dude. And yeah, man, you should be stoked. I think it's amazing.
Well, it's crazy because like pandemic through it and stuff, I think I came out with like 10 or 12 certifications through, you know, everything from emergency medicine to, you know, defensive pistol, you know. So I have all these new skills that I've acquired and have been certified in them as a, you know, advanced marksman, you know, as far as shooting guns go or whatnot, you know. But, you know, then I went through EMT school and add that to the thing. So I felt like I did a whole lot during this downtime. I feel like I put more so in this downtime than I did in probably the last 15 years of my life collectively, you know. So I'm hoping to keep doing that, is just to keep growing, you know, and expanding that, you know. Ultimately, you know, I'd love to be in a place where, you know, I think it's every, you know, husband or every, you know, family, anybody's dream is just that your family's taken care of. You know, we have been living paycheck to paycheck while doing the band thing for my entire life, because it's just band life. That's the way it goes, you know. And at a certain point, you're like, I need to have the stability, you know, or be content with doing, you know. And I'm not a content person that's like, you know, I would like to be, you know, my wife uses big ass Mac computers and hers just shit the bed like a week. I like to be able to go, boom, we can go get that computer, not a problem, you know. Or instead of being like, fuck yeah, we got to crunch some numbers here, find out where we're going to come up with this extra scratch, you know. So who knows? But you know, like right now, pretty
growing up, man. We're growing up.
I think that's it. I think that's it. You know, I said, but like I said, like for me, like the hardest and saddest part is like, has been like, you know, folks that haven't like, you know, haven't made any, you know, any contact with us since, you know, like, to be honest, like our home flooded at the right, like a little bit after the pandemic started. And we're talking our home flooded like $75,000 damage to our home. It was like it was the equivalent of a house catching fire. You know, someone had a house fire, right? It was really, really bad. And I was going to end up, I was like, you know, our insurance was going to cover it, but we had a $5,000 deductible. And we're like, what are we going to do? And I was like, well, I'm not playing my drums right now. And I've always been like, drums come and go. I'm never, ever like married to like these instruments. And so I was like, I'm going to sell my drums. I can get, you know, 5,000 for them easy, you know, sell them and we'll pay the deductible. But my friend Deal, who we both know, Deal was
thank you for bringing Deal up. I wanted to talk about her.
Yeah, she's so awesome, and she's also a person that inspired me to go down this whole first responder route.
Because she's an EMT too, right?
She's a firefighter. She's a
firefighter. Yeah, firefighter.
Badass firefighter. But I met her briefly at Punk Rock Bowling through Erin from Fat. She's friends with Erin. But we hit it off. She hit it off with Lori, my wife, and we've all been friends. Lori and her were going to do a bicycle ride prior to the pandemic. They joined this thing called the AIDS ride.
I've seen her, because Deal and her brother do it, right? Mm-hmm. Chris.
Yep. And so Lori was joining them on it, right? So Lori raised all her money to go and do it, and then the pandemic hit and they canceled it. But Dill had been like a very huge supporter, you know, of like this whole like, you know, pushing me towards, you know, doing EMT school and chiming in my ear that you're not too old to do this, you can do this, you know, all this stuff. But so we had this flood and it's going to sell the drums. And Dill was like, no way, you know, I'm not letting you sell your drums. So she made this GoFundMe account and helped, reached out to people, and we raised them the deductible to pay, which, you know, we could have done it with all, you know, the love of you know, all of our the fans and friends and stuff. You know, it was really, really awesome, you know. But like what really like bummed me out was the people that I expected that would be there for us weren't for us. Like there was not like one phone call from record labels. There wasn't one phone call from other band members. There was nothing. There was nothing, you know, nothing, you know. And that was my, like the first time I was just like, this is why I have such a bad taste in my mouth about bands, you know, band folks anymore, is because when you really need them where you think they would be there for you, they're not. And then to top that off, later down the road, I get COVID through work. I get sick. I was infected, and my symptoms weren't that bad, but like I had lost the sense of smell and taste, and had to quarantine for 14 days and stuff. Lori contracted it by taking care of me. She got it, and she got it way worse than I did. It collapsed her lung, and we made a couple trips to urgent care. She couldn't breathe. You know, she did not have full lung capacity. and she's still suffering from residual effects from having COVID. It changed the physiology of her heart. So she has random heart spikes. And then she also has bradycardia, where it's the opposite of spike. It's where the heart drops. And so like where you're supposed to be sitting at 60, 60 to 80 beats a minute, or 100 beats a minute is a normal heartbeat. She could be sitting there on the couch and stand up, and all of a sudden it'll go from 60 to 180, like just like that, just by standing up.
Wow.
Or she can wake up in the morning and look at her heart rate and show that it went from 60 down to 40, beats a minute, very slow. So we now have to monitor that and watch that, because this is the heart we're talking about. That any changes in the heart, any damage that's happening, that can result into cardiac arrest, or having any kind of cardiac problems is not good. But again, so like we got through like this COVID thing, and again, crickets from all like everybody that we had spent so much time with, that we really thought were going to be there for us. Like no one reached out. Toby from Red Scare was the only person in the end that reached out, and he was like, dude, I had no idea you guys were sick, and I had no idea that your basement flooded. But he's like, I'm still but I mean, I would have expected like fat, because it was definitely plastered all over Facebook, like when it was happening. Friends let all of our friends know that we were sick and stuff. But anyway, that just was like, gave me like a kind of more, I guess, a wake up call, saying like, it's okay. I'm doing this stuff over here now. I'm kind of doing all this, and and investing in my family and investing in myself. I shouldn't really be concerned. I'm sure other people got their lives and things happening in their things. But again, it just point is it was like a little thing that kind of like made me kind of like, where's my friends at,
Yeah.
So, but it's all good, now, really good spot,
As it sounds like. Good momentum, and yeah, man, doing things you love that make you feel good, and are looking after your family.
Yeah. Like I said, like it's all about growing, progressing. And I just realized, I felt like, I guess looking back, I kind of felt like really stagnant with the band, because I wasn't, as an individual, I didn't feel like I was progressing in life. I was just kind of staying, I was like a 43-year-old man in the mindset and lifestyle of a 27-year-old or something,
Yes.
Wasn't really doing anything to better my station in life, so I kind of feel very content with what I'm doing right now.
Cool, man. That's great, dude. Are you telling me don't play Lillingtons then during this podcast?
No, you play Lillingtons all you want. I love the band.
I mean on the podcast, because I normally play that. I was like, cool, play a little bit of Lillingtons.
You do whatever you want. I'm pretty happy with like I'm like stoked that I got to do this podcast with you. I'm a nobody in the scheme of things, but Dill was like, hey, you need to do this podcast. She was like, I want the world to know that you went from drumming to becoming an EMT, and stuff.
Yeah, it's a cool story.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like, I'm sure like in 5 years I'll probably have some other weird thing, like, I'm a underwater basket weaver living or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the deep sea diver, like lobster cat. Who knows, right? No, but you know what? This podcast, like, I don't know if you checked it out, but it's like, I'm an inspirational speaker. That's what I do. I'm also punk as fuck too. So like, I do comedy. So this is kind of like a mesh of all that stuff. So there's punk rock, there's humor, but I mean, ultimately, pretty much every guest I've had has somewhat of an inspiring story, or something the listener, takes away more than just sex, drugs, rock and roll. Right. Although I had Blag from the Dwarves. I interviewed him last week, and he even was kind of inspiring. I was thinking this is gonna be full on sex, drugs, rock and roll. But yeah, man. So I appreciate you opening up and sharing your story, and it's definitely cool what you've done with your life and moving forward, and like making the most of the pandemic, and just taking charge when things needed to change. You were aware, and you made those changes, and sounds like no regrets, which is
no regrets.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I love what you do. Dill was telling me about you being an inspirational speaker, and I think that's fantastic. I think like in the world today, there should be more Kevins. There should be more people literally like like sharing their story and inspiring people to do better. I know that's probably not the punk rock thing to, this, but like, maybe it is,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
but I feel like we need to be doing more good in the world,
I
and
agree.
I definitely for the longest time got to take, and so it's time for me to give, you know what I
And it
mean?
feels better to give. Like it
Yeah.
really does. To do
you
good
know
things, and like you said, you're helping. You're driving, like handicapped people basically right now. Yeah, like,
yeah, so
and you're like, that feels good to, like, you go to work and you feel good about what you're doing, and you come out at the end of the day and you feel like you made a difference, or you help somebody. Like that's a rewarding feeling.
it's very there is a lot of satisfaction, like I mean, I feel like I do good already with people. I feel like I have a good personality and I'm outgoing with things, but really, it's really hard to explain. It's been like, so I took this job. My company I work for, they have an ambulance service, and they also do medical transport. So it's like a side hustle. They make extra
Yeah.
money. So I was like, I need to find a way to get my foot in the door into the EMS medical world, And so my friend Heather, she worked there, and Heather was like, hey, I'm going to put a good word in for you over here at this place. She's like, you can work on the med transport side because you don't have to be licensed to pick up people. They'll teach you, basic life support, CPR and everything, but you can do this without being an EMT. And they would allow you to see the ambulance side, to see like the medications and everything, like start to learn things like how to set up an oxygen tank and put someone on oxygen, so things that you're allowed to do without having to have a license to do it. So I took that job, and I interviewed with my boss, and it was the longest interview I ever been. And he was like, so it was like 2 hours long, and he kept on like kind of sizing me up. He was like, so tell me, he was like, you've been around the world playing drums. He's like, sounds like a pretty awesome life. You've been playing with your friends in this band, been around the world. You own your own business, so you're your own boss. You don't have to come in. And he's like, why do you want to push old people around in a wheelchair?
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I was like, I don't want to tell you I don't want to push old people around in a wheelchair, but I said, what I want to do is, one of the times in my life when I had the most inner peace with myself was when I was on my Mormon mission, and I was out there helping people in Honduras, whether, third world country, and I would go over and visit with families and help them with, various acts of service, and I said, and that brought me like a lot of inner peace. And I said, I kind of miss that, I said, playing in this band has been, rock and roll and drugs, and like a lot of like, it's just like, it's like, I don't know, never land. It's like tour life is like the life of not growing up and facing responsibilities of people, which is great. If you can do that forever, do that, like, but, I was just telling them,
Hard to probably do that in your 60s and 70s.
Yeah. So
if you live that far doing that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I keep, it's like the running joke. It's like at some point, Teenage Bottle Rocket is going to have to change their name to just Bottle Rocket because they're not, it's not teenage anymore,
Old age Bottle Rocket?
Yeah. Middle age, balding Bottle Rocket.
Yeah. Wheelchair Bottle Rocket, and you're pushing them around. You're trying. Now you'll be past that job by that point.
So, like, I don't know. I didn't expect that I would be like, doing that, but I'm very glad that they gave me the job, and I proved to myself that I was worthy of the hire. I really did a good job to the point where, I had folks that were calling and saying, we want Tim to come get us. We have the best time with, and so it feels good. Like I don't treat it as a job. I make sure I go in and I get on a knee and I talk to people and I take a general interest in their lives and stuff and make that emotional connection with them. There's a lot of people that are really going through shit and all they want is someone to listen to them,
Yeah.
Like we have a gal who was quite heavy. She was about 550 pounds and diabetic and lost her one knee lost her one leg up to the knee, and she's in like a electric wheelchair. But we would take her back and forth, and I'd talk to her. I haven't taken her in a long time, but I always made sure to listen to her, because she was basically killing herself with food, because she was so like in such a deep depression over, like her life and what's happening. It was just like a out of spiral, vicious thing of getting heavier and heavier, and having diabetes, and most recently she lost her other leg.
And that's all connected too, right?
Yeah, and so I don't know. It's just like again, I got to take for a very long time. I got to go on the road and not have to worry about, bills or, like other things, like I would like to give and help, I like to help people, and it definitely gives me, I think we should be paid more, definitely. So if my boss hears this, we definitely should be paid more. He knows that already.
Paramedics, any first responders, anybody doing assistance in the medical field, teachers, why are they all underpaid but yet we have billionaires fucking who don't pay taxes? There's a problem here, but that's for another podcast.
I mean, like, if I'm in charge of bringing you back from the dead or saving your life and stuff, I should, tip me out, give me a donation or something, but I feel like first responders,
tip jar in the ambulance. Or just have one of just pay with debit where it has the automatic tip, would you like 15%? What's
shit? I'd be happy if they put a little bell on the back of the ambulance and they ring the bell if we did well.
Just an acknowledgement.
So, no, but honestly, I enjoy this stuff. I've gotten to know so many folks and hear so much history, doing the medical transport side. A lot of stuff that's going to be lost once they pass on and stuff. But, I definitely I feel like I've come into that whole humanitarian compassion side of things, and it feels good.
I love it, man. Well, I think that's a good note to end her on. This is a great positive note. People, do good things, help others. And if you're not in a place in your life that you're really feeling comfortable or happy with, or change it up. You can always change it up. Always. And fuck yeah. Tim, dude, thanks for coming on. Deal, thanks for introducing us.
Hi, Deal.
Yeah. Lori, thanks for figuring out what I actually had to figure out. Hello.
Hi.
How are you? Good. Thanks for giving me your husband for an hour.
You got it.
You guys have an awesome weekend and keep in touch, man.
All right. Thanks, Kevin. Thank you so much.
Beneath the night sky and the stars, lie dirty streets and burned out cars. He walks this dark road alone.